Okay, lovely, we're recording. So yeah, I'm Laura, in case you didn't know already. And yeah, today we're looking at yoga for posture. So it'll be the same format as the last couple of weeks, a bit of a chat from me for a few minutes at the start, and then a kind of 90-minute flow, and then a bit of time for any questions at the end. So as always, look after yourself and make it your practice. So if you need to take a rest or anything else, feel free. Yeah, just because I'm doing something doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. So make it your practice, make it what you want it today. And we'll kind of look at different elements of posture and how that's affected by day-to-day life, and then the kind of flow is designed to kind of help us really focus on those parts of our body, really. Just disable that meeting room, sorry, if people join. So yeah, so kind of when we think about posture then, there's a few things to think about. First of all is our pelvis. So when we think about our pelvis, it's the big bone that makes up this part of our body, connects our legs to our torso. It's kind of that sort of heart shape that you might have seen, or kind of elephant ears. And basically what we want when we're talking about our pelvis is to think about it being in a neutral position. So what that means is, if you imagine that it creates kind of bowl around here, and we want to keep it sort of level front to back. So we don't want that, if that bowl was full of water, we don't want to be tipping it like this so that the water's falling out of the front, or tipping it like this so the water's falling out of the back. That's kind of the idea. So we want to try and keep it stacked over our legs, and that's kind of what what we're kind of aiming for with a neutral pelvis. So what modern day life can often mean that we end up sticking our bottoms out behind us. This is called anterior pelvic tilt. So the top of the pelvis is tilting forward, and that can put a lot of pressure on our low back. So it's something that often in yoga poses we can accidentally end up in this kind of tilted position, particularly things like forward folds. With our legs straight, we can end up arching our back to fold forward. So today I'd really encourage you to try and keep that pelvis neutral. So keep it sort of level on top of your legs. And if that means you have to bend your knees a bit more, that's totally fine. It just helps us support our body better, and ultimately keeping our pelvis neutral means that we transfer energy through our body much more efficiently. So we connect our whole body, so our legs with our torso, and that kind of engagement means that in time, once we kind of develop those movement patterns so that they're present in our day-to-day life, general movement becomes easier, we become more efficient, our muscles work better together. So it's such a kind of great thing to become aware of. And I mean, I naturally do this, so I have to become aware of this as well. And you'll see I bend my knees quite a lot in my yoga practice, and that's because I'm aware that otherwise I tend to compensate in my lower back, and over time that can cause problems where the pelvis meets the spine. There's quite a delicate joint there, so if we repeatedly put pressure on it, it can exacerbate that. So just kind of hold that in your mind throughout today. And then the other part of our kind of main part of our posture is our spine. So obviously you'll know our spine is made up of lots of different bones that run from the base of our skull all the way to the top of our pelvis, and actually just below there's the tailbone just kind of below that. And it naturally has a bit of an S-shaped, well, even a bit of a curvature. So we want to have a gentle inward curve in the base of our backs, an outward curve in the top of our backs, and an inward curve in our necks. We kind of talked about that briefly last week in the neck and shoulder workshop, because we talked about having how technology nowadays can help to, make us do this all the time, looking down, and actually it can take away that curve in the neck. So today we'll do a bit with our hand on our head and on the base of our back, just trying to bring that awareness, bring that awareness back into our body, of trying to keep the back of our head and the base of our spine in line, and that'll help us find that natural curvature that we're after. And that's, again, one of those simple things that we forget as adults. So as kids, you know, we're all kind of, we move effortlessly as kids, don't we? We kind of don't think about how we're moving, and kids just know how to do these things, and they go from kind of crawling to walking and so on, and it all starts to build up, and then over time it kind of goes the other way, and we sort of forget some of those optimum movement patterns, and we compensate for, you know, we sit a lot in daily life, don't we? So we kind of end up undoing some of that kind of optimum posture, optimum movement. So kind of today is about trying to counter some of the poor posture habits we maybe develop in day-to-day life, and also to just remind our bodies how to move well. So the other thing I kind of wanted to mention is our hip flexors. So these are part of our psoas muscles, and they go through the front of our body here. And what tends to happen with a lot of sitting is that they actually get shorter because they're continually contracted. I did mention this a few weeks ago in the hip workshop as well, but it's worth reminding, because basically what happens when we're sitting, those muscles contract, but they don't actually work. They're not doing anything. So they don't get stronger, they just get shorter. And so the way we counter that is to use our glutes, our buttock muscles, because that they work kind of in a pair with our hip flexors. So we can stretch out our hip flexors by engaging our glutes, and we can also, when we engage our hip flexors, we're stretching out our glutes. So we'll do a bit of that today. It's also why I tend to start almost all my yoga classes, for those of you who practice with me regularly, with a bridge pose, because that's you know, an instant kind of reversal of those sitting postures that we hold most of the day. So we'll do a bit of bridge today as well. And you know, the other thing to remember with posture is that we're completely connected. You know, there's this amazing thing called fascia in our body, which many of you might have heard of, some of you might not have done. It's basically connective tissue that hold our body together. So from our feet all the way up to our head, it's kind of like a white gristly type, it's known as sinew as well, kind of connective tissue in our body that holds the muscles and connects them. And basically it's amazing because, for instance, there's fascia that runs from our jaw up through our face, all the way down our back, the back of our body to our heels. So if you think about that's how our body is connected, it really makes you realize that what happens in your feet, in your hips, affects what happens in your shoulders and your head. So having that kind of whole body awareness, that holistic approach, really helps us to become aware of how actually we've got, oh, I've got a really sore neck. Oh, maybe it's because I'm doing something with my hips, and actually I need to, you know, be aware of my pelvis, and oh, that naturally makes my neck a bit longer. So yeah, that's just kind of a I think it's pretty cool that we're so connected, but I think it's worth bearing in mind in our posture as well. So just before we start, is there anything that anyone has any questions about, or anything else, anything that they'd like to know a bit more of? If you want to pop it in the chat box, if that has made you think of anything. I'll just give you a minute there to do that. Yeah, so one of the ways that we can support our posture then is to actually use our muscles in our body, obviously to support ourselves, but we use them every day. So I'll talk a bit about core. It's kind of the deep core muscles, so it's not the abs at the front, they're superficial, they're not so important. But it's the deep core muscles, the psoas in particular. This is what gives us all our stability, and ultimately good posture helps us be more stable. So if you reverse that, we're going to do a few balancing poses today, because by making ourselves a bit unstable, we can actually develop those stabilizing muscles. So yeah, we'll make a start if there's nothing anyone else wants to ask or add or anything. So yeah, look after your bodies. I know a few of you just came a bit after I said that, but drink water, rest if you need it. This is your practice, okay? So enjoy it and make it work for you. So we will start on our backs on the mat, and we'll just find a comfortable position. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. So just finding something that feels good for you in your body. Maybe wriggling a bit, getting any nervous energy out. And then just settling in, maybe with your knees up towards the ceiling or extended out in front of you or out to the sides. Just bringing your hands out either side of you, rolling your shoulders underneath you. Maybe just closing your eyes for a moment. Bringing your awareness inside your body. Just noticing how it feels today. Noticing any sore bits or stiff bits. Just breathing into those areas. As you become aware of your breath, just beginning to send it to all parts of your body. Your fingers, your toes, the top of your head. Just keep breathing here and just trying to make each breath a little deeper than the one before. Each breath out a little slower. Trying to breathe with your tummy, with your diaphragm. Allowing your whole body to expand as you inhale, and just soften as you exhale. Just breathing into your pelvis, into your spine. And just noticing what parts of your body are on the mat. As you breathe in, imagine a little bit more energy filling your body. And as you breathe out, just letting go of any tension, Maybe setting yourself an intention for your body, for your practice and your mind today. We'll take a few breaths here all together. We'll breathe in through the nose, allowing that whole body to expand with the breath. And then as we exhale, we'll just sigh everything out through the mouth. Take another deep inhalation here through the nose. Another big sigh out through the mouth. And one more big inhalation here through the nose. Really making this breath as big as you can, as long as you can. This time as you breathe out, just trying to let that breath out with some control. Maybe just breathing through the nose, letting that breath escape slowly, and slowly softening back onto the mat. And your next inhalation, just opening the eyes, and exhaling, softening your whole body into the mat. I encourage you to try and breathe through your nose through today's practice if that's accessible for you. Maybe beginning to activate your Ujjayi breath if you use that. Just reminding your body to breathe through the nose helps us to release tension, to release stress, to bring our body into a slightly calmer, more relaxed state. And your next inhalation will just bring the arms up overhead and reach behind us. Just allowing your whole upper body to stretch, pausing here for a few breaths and just beginning to open up the shoulders. And your next exhalation, just releasing the hands back down either side of you. We'll just walk our hands out either side of us, bringing them about in line with our shoulders. Just bending at the elbows, palm facing up, coming into cactus arms. Bringing our knees up towards the ceiling if they're not already. And taking a deep breath in here. And then as we exhale, just letting the knees fall over towards one side. As you inhale, bringing them back to center. And as you exhale, just letting them fall to the other side. And just continuing this rhythm in time to your own breath. Inhaling the knees to the center and exhaling, releasing. Just beginning to warm up the spine here. Bringing a gentle twist into it. Being gentle with our bodies, particularly as it's the start of our class. So nothing forceful. Just some gentle movement, beginning to connect the breath to our movement today. And making sure you've done the same amount on each side. Your next inhalation, just coming back to center. We'll exhale, just squeeze the knees in towards the chest, just drawing them in, finding some length in the back of the body and the spine, maybe just rocking side to side here, keeping that breath nice and long and even. And then releasing the feet back down to the mat, walking them a tiny bit further away from your tailbone. So there's a bit of space there. Bring your hands down either side of your body, palms facing down on the mat. And take a big breath in here. And as we do, just lift the pelvis up off the mat. Just finding that moment here where we can begin to engage the glutes, those buttock muscles. So we're not trying to get high or deep into our bridge, just treating this as a warm-up, as that counter stretch to daily life. So becoming aware of those hip flexors in the front of the body, and also becoming aware of our pelvis. So bringing our fingertips to the pointy bits on the top of our body, and just noticing if they feel level, and if not, just trying to make that adjustment so that they are. Breathing nice and deeply, maybe giving those glutes a prod if they're struggling to wake up today. And bringing a little bit of awareness into your torso, your core. Just trying to imagine that you're gently hugging your body together, drawing all of those outside edges towards that center line. And just breathing nice and deeply here, still keeping that breath through the nose, reminding your body that even as it starts to work, we can stay calm and focused. Just a few more breaths here, hopefully starting to feel a little something. And then on your next exhalation, trying to lower slowly down to the mat, keeping that pelvis nice and neutral as we do, nice and even. Lovely. Just pausing here for a breath, taking a nice deep breath in, maybe sighing it out through the mouth again. And then we'll do the same thing again, but before we do, we'll just bring that awareness to our core, to our torso. So bringing your hands to your lower ribs, just beginning to try and knit your lower ribs together. You can use your hands for a bit of kind of feedback there for your brain, almost trying to draw those lower ribs towards each other. And then maybe imagine sending your tummy button down towards the ground a little here as well. And just finding that awareness in that part of your body. Don't worry if you don't feel too much activation. It's more about bringing that awareness there. And then again, as we inhale, we'll just lift that pelvis up off the mat, keeping that core hugged together, those lower ribs drawn towards each other, and the pointy bits on the pelvis nice and even. And just breathing nice and deeply. We'll again hold this for a few breaths. Remember, this is your practice though, so if you need to take a rest and come back in or do something a little different, that's fine. Just breathing nice and deeply, trying to keep that awareness in the body again, maybe prodding those glutes if they're struggling to wake up today. Really trying to soften the upper body, so soften the face, the neck, the shoulders, trying to let go of tension there. Reminding your body that we don't have to hold our whole body tense all the time. Breathing, maybe smiling. Then on your next exhalation, slowly lowering back down to the mat, one vertebra at a time. Again, taking a breath here, maybe a deep breath in and sighing it out, just allowing your whole body to soften for a moment. And then again, drawing those ribs in, trying not to squash your lower back completely to the mat. So it might go down a little bit, but maybe just noticing if you can still slide your fingers underneath a little. And then on your next inhalation, seeing if we can lift that pelvis back up off the mat into our last low bridge, softening that face and shoulders and neck again, and breathing nice and deeply. There's a few options here, so you can either stay here in your low bridge, in a static pose, or if you want to, you can begin to walk out the feet, just beginning to warm up the ankles a little bit. So maybe lifting the heels and just walking it out, just trying to keep that pelvis neutral all the time, so we're not collapsing in our body at all. And then again, if that feels quite comfortable for you, you'd like to do something a little bit more, you can begin to lift one foot up off the mat at a time. Try and time it with your breath. So lifting the foot as we exhale, inhaling, releasing that foot back down to the mat. Just doing side to side, really noticing the opposite glute working to support your body, really activating it. We don't want to collapse in that glute because then we're making our lower back work. So really squeezing that glute, lifting the leg. If it feels too much, just listen to your body and do what feels good for you. Being really aware of your pelvis, making sure your pelvis isn't collapsing or tilting to one side, gathering that energy. And when you've done an even number on both sides, just releasing your leg, pausing here for a moment, taking a deep breath in. And then again, exhaling, lowering slowly down to the mat. Good job. Hopefully you're feeling like those glutes have woken up now. Drawing your knees in towards your chest and just rocking side to side, just releasing a little here. And coming back to center, releasing your knees. We'll just continue to warm up all those stabilizing muscles, bringing a little bit of activation into the core. So again, finding that length through the spine as we inhale. As we exhale, maybe drawing those lower ribs together with your hands. Again, trying to knit all of that energy into your center line. Imagine gathering it up and holding on to it so that it can flow through your body nice and evenly, not spilling out unintentionally. And then on your next inhalation, interlacing the fingers, bringing the hands behind the head and drawing the elbows in towards each other. Maybe staying here is enough for you, or maybe as you exhale, you can just try and lift the shoulders up off the mat, really using those core muscles to do the work. So we're not trying to lift just our head and neck, we're actually lifting our shoulders. As you inhale, slowly lower back down to the mat. Maybe just pause here, breathe out, and take another deep breath in. And then again, as you exhale, trying to lift those shoulders up off the mat, but releasing the head back into the hands. So we're not holding tension in the neck here. All of the work is coming from all those stabilizing muscles in our body. Inhaling, lowering slowly back down to the mat. And again, maybe exhaling here, letting your body soften for a moment. And then inhaling, drawing that energy in, squeezing those elbows together, and exhaling up once more. Just pausing here, maybe seeing if you can lift a little higher. Trying to suspend the breath, so we're not breathing in or out, we're just pausing. And then as you inhale, slowly lowering back down to the mat. Let's see if we can do 2 more of those. Good job so far. So inhaling while you're at the bottom of on the mat. And then as you exhale, drawing your shoulders up and your torso up slightly. Inhaling, lowering back down. And last one, exhaling, lifting up. Inhaling, lowering down. And exhaling, releasing the hands beside you. Taking a nice big sigh out. And just maybe shuffling side to side, letting go of any tension, even stroking that tension away from your tummy. Then we'll draw our knees in towards our chest. We'll just rock and roll slowly up to a seated position, maybe taking a few rock and rolls to get up there. And just come into a comfortable seated position. Maybe, you might want to sit on something, a block or a cushion, just to give yourself a bit of lift, maybe cross-legged or on your knees, even on a chair. And then again, trying to draw that awareness to that lower body. So keeping the pelvis nice and neutral, really sitting on the sit bones. Being careful that we're not collapsing forward or slouching. So trying to imagine that thread drawing the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Thinking about having that slight curve in the back and engaging those ribs towards each other. Just bring our hands to the top of our shoulders and we'll just roll our shoulders backwards here, just trying to loosen them off. I mentioned it last week, but if you're going to do some shoulder rolls, really good to just go backwards because that counters a lot of daily life. We tend to naturally roll our shoulders forward in our life. So just taking a moment to undo some of that. Breathing nice and deeply. Then releasing your hands down beside you or onto your thighs and just finding a bit of extra length through the back as you inhale. Imagine you've got something underneath your chin that you're just trying to hold between your chin and your chest, finding that extra bit of length through the back. Breathing nice and deeply here. We'll inhale, bring our left arm up overhead. And exhale, bend at the elbow, still trying to keep that length in the body. So we're not splaying out in the ribs and we're not collapsing the head forward, looking straight ahead. Bringing the right hand to the top of the left elbow, just gently opening up that left side of the arm. Finding a bit more length here in the body. Breathing nice and deeply. This helps to open up our shoulders, which in turn helps our posture. And then maybe staying here, or maybe on your next exhalation, just leaning over towards your right slightly, just opening up that whole left side of your body. Still keeping that spine long. Inhaling, coming back to center. Exhaling, releasing the arms, maybe rolling out the shoulders again. If you're cross-legged, just switch the legs over, then come back into your seated position, finding that length, that stability here. So really trying to knit those ribs together, lift up through the crown of the head. And inhale, lift the right arm this time, and exhale, bend at the elbow, bring it just down to our backs, trying not to open up in the chest here to compensate. And then bringing the left fingertips to the right elbow, just gently stretching out that right side of the body, lifting up through that right elbow towards the top of the room, breathing nice and deeply. And maybe as you exhale, going over towards the left this time, being careful not to collapse. So keeping that length in the spine, breathing nice and deeply. And then inhaling, coming back to center, and exhaling, releasing the arms, just rolling the shoulders a couple more times. Lovely. Then we'll come forward into all fours. Just pause here for a moment, really finding that length in the body, remembering that this pose is such a good pose for setting up our foundations for the rest of our yoga practice. Rooting through the fingertips, trying to spread the fingers and making sure the insides of the elbows are facing the top of the mat. This helps keep our shoulders from collapsing. And just bringing that awareness to your pelvis again. So we're going to try and keep our pelvis completely neutral in these next poses. So breathing nice and deeply, finding that length in the spine. Then as we exhale, we're just going to sink back into our child's pose, reaching forward with our fingertips, rounding the back, bringing the chin to the chest. And then inhaling, coming back up to our tabletop pose, bringing that awareness back to our body, back to our tailbone, trying to keep our whole back in line, and gently drawing that ribs together for that hugging sensation in our body. Now we'll start to do some cat-cows. So actually in our cat-cows, we do move the pelvis. So we'll inhale, drop the tummy, lift the crown of the head and the tailbone. This is our anterior tilt. Just pause here, breathing, finding some more length. And then on our next exhalation, rounding the back, pushing the mat away from us, coming into our posterior tilt, pushing through the mat, opening up the back of the body here. Just continuing in time to your own breath now, moving between the two poses. Breathing nice and deeply, still breathing with your diaphragm through your nose. We can maybe add a bit more movement into this pose. So as we exhale and round the back, we can sink back on towards our heels, for a bit of a child's pose. And then inhale, reach forward with the chest, up into cow pose. Exhale back into kind of cat pose and child's pose. Inhale forward. I'm just really trying to find some movement in the body here. Imagine it's like water. We're flowing. And on your next inhalation, just coming forward into our tabletop pose and coming back to that nice neutral pose, neutral pelvis, long spine. On your next exhalation, we'll draw left elbow towards left shoulder, left shoulder towards left hip. Inhale back to center. Exhale, right shoulder towards right hip, really squeezing one side and opening up the other. Again, moving side to side here in time to your own breath. Trying to keep that that whole back body in line. So taking care to keep your head nice and neutral, trying to resist the urge to look down. Or look between your hands. We'll inhale, come back to center, come back to that length, that neutral pelvis. Pausing here for a breath, really trying to establish that connection in the body. Imagine that you've got a block, or you can even bring a block onto your back here for this next pose, or it's cushion or something. We'll inhale, extend the left leg out behind us, trying to keep that pelvis completely neutral. So we're not trying to open up to the left at all or collapse at all. Really finding that length in the body. You can either lift that left leg or keep it on the floor, and maybe extend the right arm or bring the right hand down to the mat. Keeping that length in the body. As we exhale, we'll draw the knee and the elbow underneath us, but instead of rounding the back, we'll just see if we can keep that length in the body and just move the hip and the shoulder. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, draw them underneath you, but really trying to keep that back nice and level. Lovely. And just breathing, moving in time to your own breath. Keeping that core active and engaged, that length in the body. This is our first balance pose. Giving our body a bit of stabilizing work to do. Lovely. And on your next exhalation, coming back to all fours, maybe taking a moment in child's pose, if that feels good for you. Not just staying in all fours, finding that length in the back body. We'll do the same on the other side. So as we inhale, we'll extend the right leg out behind us. Maybe bring the left arm out. Really noticing that pelvis and the shoulder, so we're not collapsing or opening up to one side. Maybe even bringing something onto your pelvis to just give that feedback there. And then we'll do the same. So as we exhale, we'll draw knee and elbow underneath us, trying to keep that back really straight and level. So we're not moving anything at all here in our torso. Lovely. Trying to look at the top of the mat instead of looking down. Trying to keep that length in the back of our body. Lovely. Just a couple more breaths here. And then exhaling, releasing back into tabletop. Taking a deep breath in here and a deep breath out. Doing things with opposite sides of our body is also really good for our brain, so we can enjoy that too. Then we'll inhale, extend the left leg out behind us. And this time as we exhale, we'll bend at the left knee. So don't worry how far your leg comes off. Much more interested today in keeping that pelvis neutral than how high you can get your leg. So really taking care to acknowledge that. And then we'll just, as we exhale, see if we can extend that left leg a little higher, really using that left glute to lift the leg. And breathing nice and deeply, taking care not to collapse in the tummy, reaching forward through the crown of the head. Maybe just pulse it here a few times, seeing if we can get it a little higher. Lovely. Breathing nice and deeply. Then on your next exhalation, bringing the left foot off the mat, facing away from our body. Bending at the left knee, so we've got two right angles there. And then inhaling, extending that left arm and opening up to the left. So I'll show you from the other direction. So we're like this. That's it, perfect. And then exhaling, releasing that left hand, extending that left leg. And again, just bringing the left foot up towards the sky again, seeing if we can pulse it a little bit higher, taking care to keep that pelvis nice and neutral. Breathing nice and deeply. And then on your next exhalation, bringing that left foot off the mat. So bending at the left knee and opening up towards the top of the room. Exhaling, releasing that left hand, releasing the left leg. We'll do the same on the other side. So extending the right leg as we inhale. And then exhaling, bending at that right knee, sole of the foot towards the ceiling. So you exhale, just see if we can extend that right foot a little bit higher, still keeping that pelvis nice and neutral. Breathing nice and deeply here, maybe pulsing it out a little. Lovely. And then on your next exhalation, bringing that right foot off the mat, facing away from the mat, and inhaling the right arm up, opening up towards the top of the room. This is a nice twist. Now upper back helps get into the spine, the thoracic spine. And then releasing that right hand down to the mat, extending the left leg long, bending the knee, and again, just pulsing it out a few times here. Breathing nice and deeply, keeping that length in the spine. And your next exhalation, releasing that right foot out towards the right and opening up as we inhale towards the right side or up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, releasing the right hand, releasing the right foot, Just coming down onto our forearms, bringing the hands together, interlacing the fingers. Finding a little bit of cat pose here, so puffing up in the upper body, releasing the head, shaking it out side to side here, breathing, smiling, really letting go of any tension in the body. And then on your next inhalation, coming to a place of stillness, tucking the toes. And if it feels good for you, you can exhale, lift the tailbone up into the air, into Dolphin Pose. Lovely. Breathing nice and deeply. If this feels a bit too much, just keeping your knees on the mat. Maybe walking your feet in a little, bending your knees plenty so that we're lifting the tailbone, but keeping activeness in the body. We're not collapsing here. Just hold this for another couple of breaths. Again, breathing through the nose. And then on your next inhalation, see if we can walk the feet out into a low plank or a forearm plank or dolphin plank, depending what you call it. Breathing nice and deeply, just trying to find that length in the back body. Although plank's a challenge, it's really good for our posture because it helps us activate all those muscles that keep us stable. Breathing nice and deeply here, dropping the knees if you need to. And then on your next exhalation, lowering all the way down onto your tummy, bringing your elbows out to the sides of the mat, your hands underneath your forehead, and your feet out to the side for a moment in a crocodile pose. Just letting your back soften down into the mat, and just noticing the curve in your lower back here. Breathing nice and deeply. On your next inhalation, bringing your hands either side of you, squeezing your shoulder blades together, bringing your feet back together. And then on your next inhalation, we'll draw the crown of our head up into a Cobra Pose or Baby Cobra Pose. Really trying to use your back muscles here to lift the torso. So there shouldn't be too much weight going through the fingertips. Lifting up as we breathe in. And then exhaling, releasing slowly back down to the mat. Pausing here for a moment. Maybe softening the body, rounding the shoulders slightly. And then on your next inhalation, drawing those shoulders down your back, away from your ears, squeezing them together, engaging the glutes. We'll inhale up into another Cobra Pose. Maybe a little higher than last time, but again, no force through the fingertips. Breathing nice and deeply here, opening up that front of the body. And then exhaling, releasing back down to the mat, softening the body, letting the shoulders round a little. We'll just pause here for a breath, and then we'll do one more Cobra Pose here. So on your next inhalation, rooting through the top of the feet, engaging the glutes, drawing those scapula down your back, inhaling up into a Cobra Pose. We'll just pause here for a couple of breaths, maybe noticing that as you inhale, you lift a little higher, and as you exhale, you soften down a little. And then as you exhale this time, releasing all the way down to the mat. Inhaling, tucking the toes and pushing up halfway. And then exhaling, tailbone back and up for downward facing dog. Pushing those fingertips away from your body, pushing your weight through your fingertips, away from your body, really lifting that tailbone, taking any movements that feel good for you here, maybe walking out the feet, maybe shaking the head, enjoying this first down dog of the day, and trying to keep that activation in the core that we've had in all of those poses before. So bringing that awareness to your lower ribs, seeing if you can imagine that your fingertips are on them, drawing them together, releasing your shoulders away from your ears here, not too much, but just enough that they are not crunching into your body. So inside of the elbows to the top of the mat. Breathing nice and deeply here. We'll pause for a moment of stillness. And then on your next exhalation, just walking the hands back towards the feet, sinking back onto both feet, noticing that weight through both feet, and then bringing your torso to the top of your legs, releasing the head and reaching forward with the fingertips. Just shuffle your tailbone side to side here, bring some openness into that side body. Release the head. Your next inhalation, walk the hands forward again into our downward facing dog. Lift through the tailbone. Maybe extend the legs a little. Then on your next exhalation, rounding the back and tiptoeing the feet up towards the hands. Folding all the way over here. Again, bringing your chest to your thighs and just releasing the head, maybe taking each hand to opposite elbow and sway it out here in a ragdoll. Just allowing any tension in the upper body to fall away towards the earth. Maybe even stroking out the back of the neck. Just breathing nice and deeply here, making this pose suit your body. And on your next inhalation, slowly rolling up to standing, making sure that your chin is glued to your chest until your whole body is upright. And then drawing your shoulders away from your ears, lifting up through the crown of the head into our mountain pose. Lovely. So just pause for a moment in our mountain pose now, finding that stability. So I teach feet under hips. I know some people will encourage you to bring your feet together. Particularly in women, that can actually create quite a lot of strain on your knees. So I would always teach to keep your feet underneath your hips. Also gives us a nice bit of stability there. And breathing nice and deeply, just seeing if we can find a little bit more grounding through the feet. So maybe rocking forward and backwards, side to side, maybe lifting one foot and then the other, lifting the toes, placing them back down, nice and spread. Really trying to build our posture from the base up. And then we're finding a little bit of lift in the kneecap. So we don't want to be locking out our knees, but we do want straight legs, but we want to have a bit of give in our knees too. And then imagine drawing that energy up to that pelvis, thinking about that neutral pelvis, maybe just moving it forward and backwards, and just noticing how it feels in your body. Do you have more movement one way than the other? One hand to the front and the other to the back, and just trying to find that middle ground where it's stacked on top of our legs. Imagine it's that bowl of water again, holding all that energy. And then bringing your awareness up a little more to your ribs, knitting those ribs together, engaging that center line. Rounding your shoulders up towards your ears, rolling your shoulders up towards your ears, and then down your back, seeing if you can just draw those shoulder blades a little further down and reach towards the ground with your fingertips, lifting up through the crown of your head. And imagine you've still got that ball or something underneath your chin, allowing that length in the back of the neck. And this is kind of our active posture, breathing nice and deeply. It's going to feel slightly different for all of us, so don't worry. Just acknowledge how it feels for you. And from here, we'll inhale, reach the right arm up and see if we can keep all of the rest of that body absolutely neutral. Just reach up a little higher through that right hand. Maybe bring the left hand to the left, top of the left hip. And then as you exhale, reach over towards the left, imagine that your body's squashed between two planes of glass, so you're not collapsing forwards or backwards. You've got all of that posture just as we were in mountain pose, but we're reaching up and out towards the left side of the room, sorry. And then inhaling, coming back to center, exhaling, releasing that right hand down to the top of the right pelvis, and inhaling the left arm up overhead. Again, trying to keep all of the rest of that body neutral, and then exhaling, reaching over towards the right side of the room with the left hand. Just noticing your feet, seeing if you can keep that weight even in the body, making sure we're not pushing our left hip out towards the left side. So gathering in that energy. Inhaling, coming back to center, and exhaling, releasing that left hand and the right hand down to the small of our back, palms facing in, fingers facing down. Just pausing here, trying to draw those shoulders together, keeping that length in the body and that engagement in the front. Really important here. We're going to have a little back bend, just a gentle one. And that means that it's really important we're not collapsing into our lower back. So we're drawing that energy up and out through the crown of the head. And as we inhale, imagine puffing up the chest, lifting up a little higher, leaning back ever so slightly and looking up slightly. So we're not pushing forward with our pelvis, we're keeping that pelvis nice and neutral. Should feel like you're working your core quite a bit here. And then inhaling, coming back to center, and exhaling, fingers to the hip crease, folding forward, trying to avoid that anterior tilt, so keeping the pelvis neutral, bending the knees if you need to, coming all the way down into a forward fold. Just rounding the back when you can't keep your back straight anymore. And just swaying side to side, shuffling your tailbone side to side, just trying to find a bit of looseness in the body. Inhaling, sweeping the arms out beside you and up overhead, reaching up towards the ceiling and trying to gather all that energy from the feet up through the fingertips. Exhaling, mountain pose. See if after a bit of movement, are you still in that really nice, strong base of a mountain pose? If you're not, make any adjustments that you might need in your body. And then we'll inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, reach up overhead. And exhale, fold forward again, being careful not to stick our bum out. So bending the knees a little if we need to. Fold forward into our forward bend. Inhale, come up halfway, finding that halfway lift in our body. Wherever that last point is, we could keep a nice flat back. Again, keeping the knees soft. And then exhale, fold forward. Inhale, step the left foot back and drop the left knee. We'll come up into our low lunge. Bring your hands to heart center. This is a really good one for our posture because we can really activate that left glute, open up that right hip flexor. Maybe even bring your left hand to the top of your left glute and push down into your buttock here and see if you can send that buttock back up into your glute, back up into those fingertips. Notice if that changes anything in the front there. Inhale, reach up with the arms, keeping that body active. And exhale, fold forward over that front foot. Plant the hands and we'll step back into a plank or a half plank or tabletop to suit you. So listening to your body, listening to what feels good for you. And breathing here for a moment, just seeing if we can imagine that we're standing on our feet. So our feet are nice and stacked over our toes. Our glutes are active, our core's active. We've got that length through the crown of the head. On your next exhalation, dropping the knees to the mat, keeping that length in the body, lowering slowly down into our mat, onto our fronts. Keeping the hands beside you, making sure the toes are untucked, drawing the shoulder blades together. We'll inhale up into a cobra. Exhaling, releasing back down to the mat. Inhaling, tucking the toes and seeing if we can keep that body straight as we push up halfway. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Lifting through that tailbone, finding that length in the back before worrying about our legs. And then maybe beginning to straighten our legs a little, but finding the length in our back first. Breathing nice and deeply. Again, taking any movements that feel good for you here. Feel free to shake out the head, move the feet, wiggle side to side, and then just breathe. On your next inhalation, see if we can lift that left foot up behind us, toes pointing down. Exhaling, stepping the left foot up towards the left hand, dropping the right knee and coming up into a low lunge on this side. Lifting up through the crown of the head again, maybe bringing the fingertips to the top of that right glute, pushing down into the right glute, letting that glute fire back up into your hand, really trying to open up the front of the body, using other parts of our body to do it. And then inhaling, lifting those arms up overhead, breathing. Just noticing if you still have that hugging sensation in your core. Are your ribs knitted together? Exhaling, folding forward over that front foot and stepping the right foot up to meet the left. Forward fold. Inhaling, coming up into standing, reaching up overhead. And exhaling, mountain pose. Again, just noticing, have you reset back to the same position that we started from? How is your mountain pose? Well, inhale, sweep the arms up again, reach up, and exhale, fold forward again from the hips, finding that length in the body. Rounding the back when we can't keep it flat anymore. Inhaling, coming up halfway, wherever that is for you, finding that nice flat back, length in the spine, shoulders away from the ears. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, stepping that right foot back behind you this time, dropping the knee and coming up into our low lunge. Lovely. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Pausing here for breath. Keeping that chin tucked, that length in the back of the neck. Exhaling, folding over that front foot, planting the hands and stepping back into a plank or half plank or tabletop to suit you. Just noticing your shoulders, trying to keep them neutral, especially if you're here last week. Squeezing the glutes, the core. Don't worry if you have a shake. And then exhaling, releasing the knees, lowering slowly down onto the mat. Untucking the toes, drawing those shoulders away from you. Inhaling up into our Cobra Pose. Breathing here for a moment. And then on your next exhalation, releasing back down to the mat. Tucking the toes and pushing up halfway as we inhale. And then exhaling, downward facing dog. Breathing here. Pick any movements that feel good for you. Or maybe staying still. And then just finding that length in the body. Releasing the head, shaking the neck out. On your next inhalation, extending that left leg this time. Extending the right leg out behind us. Toes pointing down. If the toes are pointing down, it means our pelvis is neutral. And then exhaling, stepping the right foot up to meet the right hand, dropping the left knee, and coming up into our low lunge on this side. Inhaling, reaching up. Again, just noticing your body. Are you contained? Are you energized in your core? Exhaling, folding over that front foot, stepping the left foot up to meet the right foot, releasing over into a forward fold. Inhaling, Sweeping the arms out beside you and up overhead. Exhaling, mountain pose. Noticing your body again. How does it feel? Is it still neutral pelvis? Shoulders release down your spine, lengthen the body. Inhaling, sweeping those arms up overhead again. Exhaling, folding forward again, trying to keep that torso neutral. Stepping the left foot back behind you. Exhaling, dropping the knee. Just pausing here for a moment, bringing your right hand to the back of your right foot or the front foot, and just holding that right heel down into the mat. So you exhale, just see if we can draw that right knee forward over towards the right toes, not past them, and inhale back. Just do that a couple of times. So trying to really glue that right heel down, just bringing a bit of mobility into our ankles. So our ankles support us. They're a small joint and they support us in all our standing poses. So it's good to just be aware of them. Then inhaling, coming back to our low lunge, being aware of that pelvis, and then planting the left hand, inhaling the right arm up for a twist. Pausing here, breathing. Exhaling, releasing the right hand back down to the mat, and inhaling up into our low lunge. Squeezing that glute, tucking the back toes if they're not already, finding that lift through the crown of the head, that gathering of energy in our body. On your next inhalation, seeing if you can step up into our crescent lunge, keeping the back leg a little bent if you need to. Exhaling, seeing if we can lower again. Lovely. Inhaling up. And exhaling, lowering. Lovely. Once more, inhaling up. And exhaling, lowering. Inhaling up and pausing here, extending the arms up overhead for our crescent lunge. Taking care to notice that pelvis, those ribs, length through the back body. On your next exhalation, reaching forward, bringing both hands to the top of your right knee. So the right hand's going to go into your hip crease, left hand to the top of your right thigh, sorry. Reach forward, keep that pelvis nice and neutral. Take a deep breath in here, find that length and stability, and then exhale, seeing if we can float that left foot off the mat for a warrior three. Being really gentle here, making sure that you are not opening up in that left side. Exhaling, seeing if we can draw that left foot forward in front of us. Finding length through the body as we inhale. And exhaling, sending it back behind us for another warrior three. Lovely, you can pop that left foot down on the mat if that's easier. Inhaling, bringing that left foot forward. Exhaling, warrior three. Keeping that pelvis neutral, that spine long. Inhaling forward again. Exhaling, releasing behind, warrior three. Just pausing for a moment here, seeing if you can really soften that left side of the pelvis down. And then exhaling with control, step that left foot back and come up into our crescent lunge. Good job. Breathing nice and deeply here for a moment, just pausing. And then we'll inhale again, seeing if we can find length in the body, lean forward slightly. Exhale, step that left foot off for a warrior three. And this time we're going to see if we can extend the opposite hand to the the opposite arm to the leg that's in the air. Then as we exhale, see if we can draw both towards us under our body. Lovely. Inhale, find that length. Exhale, release that body. Don't worry if you need to put a foot down or rest. Inhale, find that length. Exhale, release underneath us. Inhale, find that length. And then exhale, come up into standing. Release that left leg down, mountain pose. Good job. Maybe have a wiggle here, shake it out. Lovely. And then we'll find that length in our body. We'll inhale those arms up overhead. Oh, sorry if you can hear that outside. Exhale, fold forward from the hips. Find that length in the body. Release all the way over. Inhale, step the right leg back this time. Drop the right knee. And bring your left hand to the back of your left heel. We'll glue that left heel down. And just exhale. See if we can bring that left knee over the toes. Inhale, lean back. Exhale, forward. Just bringing some awareness into those ankles. Doing that a couple more times. And then coming back to center, planting the right hand and lifting the left arm up for a twist. Breathing. Exhaling, releasing that left hand and inhaling, coming up into our low lunge on this side. Again, bringing that activation into the right glute. Lift through the crown of the head. And your next inhalation, think if we can pop up into our crescent lunge here. Lovely. Exhaling, releasing back down. Inhaling, coming up, really taking care to keep that pelvis neutral. Lovely. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Once more, exhaling down. And then inhaling up and pausing here, extending the arms up overhead and finding that length in the back of the body. Breathing nice and deeply. On your next exhalation, leaning forward slightly and seeing if we can bring both hands down to the top of that left thigh. So left hand in the left hip crease, right hand above the knee. Inhale, find a little more length. And then exhale, lift that right leg up behind us. Really trying to find that length in the back body, stability in the left foot. Inhale, seeing if we can bring that right leg forward and in front of us. You can always touch it down halfway. And exhale, send it out, back behind us. If you imagine you're looking down at about a 45-degree angle, that can help you find your balance. Inhale, lift that right leg forward. Oh, I've lost my balance now, trying to look at the screen. Exhale, send it back behind us. Inhale, bring it forward. And exhale, send it back behind us. Really trying to keep that pelvis nice and neutral. Imagine you've got that block on the back of your pelvis. Again, you can bring your hand there for a bit of feedback. And then on your next exhalation, release that right foot back down to the mat for a crescent lunge, taking care to keep that pelvis neutral and just pausing here for a moment. Either arms up overhead. You can even bring one hand to the back of your head, one hand to the back of your pelvis, and just notice if they are in line. Breathing for a moment. And your next inhalation, bringing both hands onto your left thigh again. Exhaling, reaching forward, floating that right leg up off the mat. We'll do the same thing that we did on the other side. So extending that left arm out in front of you, making some space if you need to, like me. And then as we exhale, we're going to round the back, draw the knee and elbow underneath us. Inhale, extend that arm and that leg. It's a bit like what we did in all fours. Exhaling, rounding the back, bringing both underneath us. Inhaling long. Don't worry if you need to rest or pause. Then on your next exhalation, releasing your right foot to meet your left, coming back into a mountain pose, shaking it out, taking some nice sighs, breathing nice and deeply. Good job. Remember, it's only yoga, so don't worry if you put a foot down or fall, it doesn't matter. And then finding your mountain pose. Again, trying to build that pose from the base upwards, trying to notice your pelvis, notice that length. See if you can find a little bit more freedom in your body as you find that kind of stacking of each body part. Then we'll inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, and exhale, fold forward again from the hips, creasing at the hips, exhaling all the way over. Inhaling, stepping that left foot back behind us. Planting the left hand and inhaling the right arm up. So we exhale, we're going to sweep that right hand underneath the left leg. So it looks like this. And then inhale, sweep the right arm up. Exhale it underneath. Inhale, sweep the right arm up. Exhale, sweep it underneath. Last inhalation up overhead. This time exhaling it round to meet the left hand, walking the hands round to the left side of the mat, turning both feet to face the left side of the mat and making sure the feet are, the toes are wider than the heels, bending the knees. So we're coming into a goddess squat. Then from here, we'll inhale, come up to standing, lovely. And we'll just bring one hand to the back of our head, one hand to the sacrum, and really try and notice our body, notice the length. If you notice your knees just falling in slightly, see if you can walk your feet a little further apart and maybe turn the feet a little further apart. Breathing nice and deeply, trying to lift up a little higher. And maybe if you want to make it a little more challenging here, you can just pulse it out a little, moving with intention. Try not to go too fast, just trying to find that movement in your body, noticing how it feels to keep your body stacked and breathing. Releasing both hands to your hip crease, maybe bringing them out either side of us for a full goddess pose. Being careful that we don't lose that length in the back of the body if we bring our arms out, so we're not splaying out in the chest, keeping that energy gathered. Lovely. One more breath here, and then exhaling, releasing over, bringing both feet to face the long edge of the mat and just releasing for a moment in a wide-legged forward fold, just letting go of any tension, allowing a bit of length in the back of the body, the back of the legs. You can bend your knees if you need to here, making this pose suit your body. Then we'll find some length through the back, plant the left hand and inhale the right arm up overhead. Exhale, release the right hand and inhale, lift the left arm overhead. So just continuing in time to your own breath. Exhaling, releasing the hand. Inhale, lifting it up. Don't worry about where you need to look. Just trying to find movement here in the upper back, in the thoracic spine. Breathing nice and deeply. One more inhalation. And then exhaling, releasing all the way over into a forward fold. Just taking a couple of deep breaths here. Releasing the head and the neck. And maybe just rolling out the shoulders a little. And walking the hands round to face the back of the mat, dropping the right knee. We'll do the same on the other side. So planting that right hand, we'll inhale the left arm up overhead. As we exhale, we'll sweep that left hand underneath the left thigh. Inhale, sweep it up overhead. Exhale, release it underneath the left leg. So once more, inhaling up. Exhaling, left arm under the leg. Last inhalation up. And then exhaling, releasing the left hand to meet the right hand. And walking the hands round to the long edge of the mat again, turning the feet so that the toes are pointing to the corners, and heels are a little close together, and bending into those knees for a goddess squat. Inhaling, see if we can come up to standing, still keeping our goddess squat. And again, bringing one hand to the back of your head, the other to the back of your pelvis, and just trying to notice them. See if we can bring them in line. Breathing nice and deeply. Again, maybe making this a little more challenging by pulsing it out, bringing the arms out either side of you in a goddess squat or full goddess pose, spreading the fingers as well, finding space in the body, trying not to squeeze the shoulders together, so we're opening the chest and arching the back, seeing if we can keep that length. Lovely. Breathing nice and deeply for a couple more breaths here. And then exhaling, folding over, straightening the legs, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. And just releasing all the way over here. Sighing it out, breathing nice and deeply. And your next inhalation, finding some length through the spine, planting one hand, and reaching up overhead with the other for a twist. Exhaling, releasing that hand, and inhaling the other arm up. Again, just continuing in time to your own breath here. Finding some movement in the spine. Don't worry about looking anywhere in particular, just allowing your gaze to do its own thing here. And then on your next exhalation, just releasing all the way over into a wide-legged forward fold, maybe swaying it out side to side, breathing nice and deeply. On your next inhalation, walking your hands round to the front of the mat and stepping back into all fours. Seeing if you can keep that length in the body, that engagement in the core, that gentle hugging. And then we'll inhale, extend that right leg out behind us. And this time we'll stack the right hip on top of the left. So from here, you can either keep that left shin in line with the long edge of the mat, which makes it a little more challenging, or you can sweep that left foot off the mat for a bit more support by widening the base. It just makes it a little bit more supportive. So just listening to your body here. Then we'll inhale, reach up with our right arm and see if we can really squeeze the glutes to open up the front of our bodies. Exhale, bring the right knee to meet the left knee, back into all fours, and sweep that right arm under the left for a thread the needle pose. Maybe extending that left arm, or maybe even inhaling the left arm up overhead. Exhaling, releasing that left hand. Inhaling, extending that right arm and the right leg, opening up to the right side of the room. Exhaling, releasing the right knee, the right hand underneath our body. Again, maybe lifting that left arm up. Just listening to what feels good for you. Exhaling, releasing that left hand. Inhaling the right arm up, right leg long, squeezing those glutes. And exhaling, releasing the right arm underneath the left for the last time. Maybe extending the left arm up overhead. Exhaling, releasing that left hand, extending the right leg, right arm, opening up. Maybe this time turning both feet to face the back of the mat and coming into our reverse tabletop or wild thing pose. Exhaling, releasing into tabletop or all fours. Lovely. We'll do the same thing on this side. So finding that length in the body first, that hugging in the core. And then either extending that right leg off the side to give yourself a bit more support, or keeping it in line with the long edge. We'll inhale, extend that left leg and see if we can stack that left hip on top of the right hip. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, release the left hand or left knee down, left hand under the right arm. Maybe extend the right arm up overhead. Exhale, release that right hand. Inhale, extend the left leg and the right arm. Sorry, left leg and left arm. Gosh, I'm getting confused. Exhale, left arm under right arm up in the air if you wish. Entirely optional. Exhaling, releasing the right hand. Inhaling, the left arm up, left leg long, really squeezing those glutes, finding that space in the body. One more exhalation, left arm under right arm up in the air. And then exhaling, releasing that right hand. Inhaling the left arm up, left leg long. And this time, if you want to, turning both feet to the back of the mat and opening up into our wild thing. Really squeezing the glutes to lift the body and open up the hips there. Staying strong in the shoulder, lovely. Exhaling, releasing all the way back down into our tabletop, finding that last bit of length in the body. And then we'll just exhale, send the tailbone back towards the feet, reach forward through the fingertips for child's pose. Breathing here, softening the face and the neck, opening up the sides of the body. And breathing nice and deeply, breathing into that back body, just allowing it to round slightly, being gentle with it, letting it all soften and relax. And we'll inhale, bring the hands back towards the body, come up into seated. As we exhale, we'll just come down onto our backs. Just extend the left leg long and squeeze the right leg up and in towards our body, just drawing it in, squeezing it in towards our chest, trying to find length in the left side. Breathing nice and deeply. Then we'll extend our right arm out beside us, maybe cactus the arms so that we're bent at the elbow. And then just gently draw that left knee across our body our right knee across our body onto the left side, opening up the right side. Breathing nice and deeply here, maybe supporting it with your left hand. If this feels a bit too much, you can just bend both knees up and over, always listening to what feels good for you. And then inhaling, coming back to center. Exhaling, squeezing both knees in towards the chest. Pausing here for a breath. And extending the right leg long this time, squeezing that left knee up and in towards the chest. Really just trying to get into the hip there, releasing in the back, finding length in that right side. And we'll extend the left arm out beside us, maybe bending at the elbow for a cactus. We'll draw the left knee to the right side of the body, maybe supporting it with our right hand, maybe releasing it, or drawing both knees up if that feels better for us. Just listening to your body. Breathing nice and deeply here. Don't worry if you still feel some energy in your body. Just noticing it, but not acting on it. Then inhaling, coming back to center, and exhaling, squeezing both knees in towards your chest, maybe rocking side to side. Then coming back to center, we'll just extend our legs up towards the ceiling and just soften our back, our shoulders, just for a gentle inversion, letting all the blood flow around our torso, giving our heart a little rest, and just breathing into the body, really trying to soften that back, that core, that torso, just letting go of any tension, allowing your body to just rest and be. Just breathing nice and deeply here, really trying to breathe into the whole of the lungs with every breath. Maybe just slowing that breath down a little more. On your next exhalation, just drawing those knees in towards the chest and hugging them in again. And then we'll come into a Shavasana now. So if you'd like to grab yourself a blanket or a pillow or anything to make yourself nice and comfortable, please do. And when you're ready, coming into your Shavasana, whatever that is for you, maybe extending your legs out long or drawing them up towards the ceiling, letting them rest against each other, just listening to what your body needs today. When you're ready, just bringing your hands out either side of you, rolling your shoulders underneath you, finding a little bit more length in the body, drawing your eyes to a close, drawing your attention inwards, really noticing how your body feels, and noticing your breath. Maybe taking some long, deep inhalations and some long, slow exhalations. Maybe breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, as we did at the start of this class. And then allowing your breath to return to its natural rhythm, letting go of any control over it, and just allowing it to be. With every inhalation, experiencing a sense of openness and growth, sense of expansion in the body and space. With every exhalation, experiencing a sense of deep relaxation and peacefulness. With every breath out, just letting go of any tension in your body, letting every part of you relax, your toes, your feet, your ankles, your lower legs, your knees, your thighs, your hips, your pelvis, and your lower torso, your hands, your arms, your shoulders, your whole upper torso, your neck, your head, softening and finding space in your jaw, relaxing your forehead, letting your whole face soften. Just allowing every part of you to melt a little further into the earth with every breath. Finding a sense of being connected and grounded, and allowing everything to be just as it is. Staying in this state for a few more minutes, just allowing your body and mind a few moments of stillness, some time to absorb the effects and benefits of today's practice. If any thoughts float in, just allowing them to float out again. Always coming back to the breath, flowing in and out of the body. Still keeping your eyes closed, just bringing some awareness back into your body. Maybe moving your fingers and your toes. Stretching your arms up overhead for a full body stretch. Maybe taking a nice deep yawn here. And stretching a little more. And releasing your hands back down beside you. Bringing your knees up towards the ceiling. Soles of the feet to the ground. Slowly rolling over onto one side. And just pausing here, making a little pillow for your head with your hands. When you're ready, making your way up to a seated position. Bringing your hands to heart center. Meaning to rub your hands together to generate some heat. And just placing them over your eyes. Allowing your eyes to open as you bring your hands back to heart center. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today.